Okay, can see. So, this is the step of removing the bone from the anterior to posterior to avoid impingement of bearing. So, this is a kind of calcarema in the bipolar operation. So, the aim of this removing is to remove the bone anterior part of the component because this component is implanted in 10 degrees in the flexion, basically. The previously, we have got only one peg. So this in the previous version of this component. And implant the parallel to the femur mechanical axis. But now we use the high flexion component. So that is implanted 10 degrees in flexion. So the reason is cover the contact area during the deep flexion. So previously we insert like this, but in the deep flexion, this area not covered by the metal. So that can cause such as point loading or contact with the remnant bone and the cartilage. So that can cause the problem. And furthermore, if you in this situation flex like this, the where weight loading can push the femur component anteriorly. That can cause some loosening or some trouble. So to avoid the point loading in the deflection, around about 10 or 15 years ago, the operation procedure had changed to 10 degrees in deflection. But previously, we have got the connector with the deeper flexion implantation, such as 20 degrees and 15 degrees. But comparing the such deep angles, they concluded that 10 degrees flexion now. So now we implant a femur component not parallel to the femoral mechanical axis, but 10 degrees. But if we implant 10 degrees in flexion, the flexion can be covered in flexion, where contact point is we can retain, but in extension, I can say in extension, the coverage is not enough because sometimes in full extension, bearing can contact with the bone area, bare bone area. So because implantation is slightly flexion, so there is some gap from anterior part of the component. So the new type of femoral high flexion component extend approximately 10 degrees of with this on the anterior part of the femoral component. So as a result, high flexion component is 10 degrees longer in the anterior. But using the mill, only the area here, bone area here, can be shaped. But it's implanted around 10 degrees in the extension more, not flexion more. So we need to remove a bone around here. Do you understand? Oh, previously, this is the previous version of the component. This is normal. But this is imparted to the mechanical axis. But in the flexion, this distal end can cause point loading. That can wear the polyethylene here. And in the same time, so this point loading can push the component anterior. That can cause the instability or loosening. So to cover the posterior side more, one solution is implanted in 10 or 10, 15 degrees inflection. Then we can avoid the point loading. Of course, if the patient can bend the knee 130 or 40, in the same point loading can talk, but the percentage of the rate of point loading can decrease. So anyway, so now we implant it like this, but if we implant like this, this is a black one in the flexion position. So flexion, in the flexion, this can cover, but in extension, wearing some like here like this to prevent point loading here or the contact with bone, bare bone area. This component, the anterior part was extended around 10 degrees. But initial milling is made around here. There is no milling, so we need to mill more than the anterior. So and there is enough space to add another small plate in the extended anterior part. So this is we currently use. We are currently using the phase 3 deep flexion components. So this is the aim for anti-impingement. So this is a small bar and mill around this bar, approximately 10 or 10 degrees more anteriorly. But this mill is a little bit big, so it is sometimes difficult to insert through the small incision. So we don't have to need this anterior mill. Instead, we can remove the bone using the chisel. So before the previous version, or lateral UKA. Lateral UKA, we use the same component, but we never use this mill anterior mill because the lateral facet, this can damage the femoral femoral facet. So on the medial side, maybe it doesn't matter, but the lateral side is patellar contact. So more more than the medial side, so lateral side. So to avoid the affection of the patellar femoral joint over, especially for the lateral facet of PF, we avoid using this mill and carefully remove the bone using the chisel in the lateral side. So our lateral side, Zimmer do not recommend to use this anterior mill. Instead, they recommend to use the chisel. Or it's the same, the medial side. So it's enough to remove the bone using the chisel and check the bearing contact into extension using a trial. That's it. That's all right. Anyways, so it is only for the remove the bone to make the space for the high flexion component. Okay. So this is the final check. And extension and the flexion and the checkpoint is one is this patient is already the key result is made. So I always say that this movement should be checked before the key preparation. So because we need to evaluate the distance between the head bearing and the particular wall. Never hit bearing never hit the particular wall and never separated from the particular wall. Both can cause trouble. If the bearing contact with the particular wall and medial dislocation of bearing or valgus sign, sometimes on the other hand, the bearing separate from the particular wall. The bearing can spin and can cause the dislocation. Okay. And similarly, in the deep flexion, we sometimes lift up of the bearing and some abnormal rotation bearings. If the bearing lift up and move anteriorly, that implies that something behind the femoral component, such as remnant osteophyte or meniscus. So if we observe some lift up or abnormal movement, we again remove the femoral component and check again. Is there something behind the femoral condyle? Okay. Or sometimes deep flexion is too loose, but we cannot anything. So other than to observe. Well, maybe it is okay once the patient recover from the anesthesia. Muscle contraction can prevent the dislocation because of the little bit loose depression. Yeah. So as maybe I might say before, the depression in depression, most of patients gap is a little bit loose. Maybe. So it doesn't matter, maybe. And furthermore, the most dislocation occur in extension and unloaded condition. So depression looseness, I think doesn't matter as long as there is no impingement with meniscus and osteophytes. And this time we should care about the osteophyte and on the lateral side, near the intercondylar nodes, because some cases there are still osteophyte very near the intercondylar nodes, or media border or the media condyle. So in this case, we insert your finger and feel directly the posterior aspect of the media femoral condyle. Okay, then this is the final test. In the sometimes, so not bearing, but tibial component will lift up. Maybe it can caused by the uneven bone cut. So this case, I convert to the cemented. So otherwise, so this can cause the loosening in the near future. But comparing to the cemented component, loosening of cementless component is quite rare. So, but I'm worried about in this situation, we observe some instability of the tibial component. It's better to convert to the cemented. if I convert to the cemented, we need to enlarge the keel slot a little bit more. Because basically keel slot is thinner than the keel, narrower than the keel in the cementless, but wider than the keel in the cemented, because we need retain the cement mantle. So the keel slot should be larger than the keel width of the keel. So this is a difference. So if I convert to the cemented component, again, we make the keel slot sewing using the cemented sew. OK。はい。ということで、ここの10個も大切ですよということですね。はい、以上です。
外骨の